That's a really good question. And in a way, I would say it's more people who I've read than people who I've actually had the privilege of working with. Of course, when I was in college and graduate school, I met lots of brilliant professors and, got advice from a lot of people. And, going forward in my career, but I guess in a way, I've always, when you ask me that question, what comes to mind is authors that I've read rather than people who I've worked with directly. And maybe it's because I'm so old that I think of a lot of the people who I work with directly more as peers than as people who I look up to for inspiration, but more as like collaborators and peers rather than. So maybe if you'd asked me that question 30 or 40 years ago, I would have thought about it differently, but I'm not sure I would have. But so the most recent book I read that I'm recommending to absolutely everybody, and I do not know the author, but I'm just so enamored of the book, is called Perfect Victims by Mohammad El-Kurd. It was published by Haymarket Press earlier this year. And the great thing about Haymarket is if you buy the book, the paperback, it's not expensive, but you get the ebook instantly. You get access to the ebook automatically when you purchase the book, so you can start reading it even before you get it. But even though I prefer reading an actual book when I can. So the title is Perfect Victims, and the book is about how the Western narrative about Palestinians requires Palestinians to be what he calls perfect victims. So Palestinians can be one of two things in the Western narrative. They can be helpless, injured, children, like humanitarian catastrophes, so that you have this sort of sympathetic but kind of paternalistic view, like, oh, poor Palestinians, they're suffering so much. Or they're constructed as dangerous terrorists. Especially if you're a Palestinian boy or man, and he's a young man, he's like 23 years old, the author, but talks about growing up in East Jerusalem and his interactions with solidarity groups and people from the US and Europe who want to sort of support Palestinians, how you learn to construct yourself as the perfect victim, the innocent, so that you won't be, especially if you're a boy, seen as a dangerous terrorist. And I just found his way of explaining that so compelling, and how it distorts, how it prevents our ability as people in the West from understanding Palestinian resistance, because we're so obligated to always condemn anything that Palestinians do that doesn't fall into the perfect victim narrative. So I really, really enjoyed that book.